Hi, everybody. My name is Marcus Henry. I'm a engineer in the Boston area, and I am across all social media platforms, and I've been fielding a lot of questions. So I figured this would be a great opportunity to not only you guys watch a flight that I made from Bedford Airport to Mansfield Airport, but also just go over some things about my 1 year review of plane ownership. Okay, so owning a plane is not easy. Getting your private pilot's license is not easy. And growing as you start your journey is not easy as well, but you have to commit to the process. Okay, so let's get started here. Why I started flying. I get that question a lot. What really pushed me into flying, believe it or not, was YouTube. I mean, that's my first real exposure. Yes, I've always had an interest in aviation and just the engineering of everything. But what really pushed me into flying was YouTube. I remember watching two brothers, it was Mojo Grip and somebody else, I forget his name, flying in formation, and I was looking at it on a Friday afternoon, thinking to myself, I could actually do that. This is actually a possibility. So I did what most people do. I started researching, then I booked a discovery flight. And honestly, the discovery flight did not go amazing. But I love the process. I love the challenge. I love the feeling, being around planes, learning systems, learning mechanics, and realizing this is a skill that you can truly build. And that was it for me. I was in. So that's why I actually got into aviation. Now there was the training. Okay. How did my training actually go? I'm going to save you some pain. I trained like a weekend warrior for too long. And that is one of my biggest mistakes that I made. I would go out maybe once a month, get into the plane, enjoy a flight, but I was not locked in. I was not doing enough book work, and I was not staying current enough in my own learning. I was basically dragging the process out, unbeknownst to me. Then I changed everything. I took 4 weeks off of work. I only worked maybe 1 or 2 hours per day, and being a business owner, it's hard to step away. And I did nothing but fly. If the weather worked, I flew once or twice a day. If the weather did not work, I studied the oral, the written, or whatever I needed to do to sharpen up. And that was probably one of the best things I could have done. Because I got consistent, everything started stacking. If I did not lock in for those 4 weeks, I think I would stay stuck in the sort of learning phase for a lot longer. So a lot of you guys ask me, how long did it take me? And my journey is a little bit weird. By the time I got my private, I had around 100 hours. And part of that was my fault. Because I flew 8 different planes across 4 different flight schools for at least 8 hours each plane, do not do that. Stick with one plane, even if it kills you, I shouldn't say even if it kills you. I should say, even if you're a little bit uncomfy, even if it's not perfect, even if you don't love the plane, even if you feel a little bit cramped in it, stick with one plane and learn the systems very well. You will save time, you will save money, and you will stop resetting your feel every time you fly. Now, I get a lot of questions that I get ask me, what was the hardest part of training? For me, the hardest part was landing. I remember my instructor saying the same exact thing to me every single time when we went to go land, and it was painful, to say the least. And I think that's true for most newer pilots, that landing is where it really comes together. Landing is where everything shows up. Your sight picture, your timing, your energy management, your confidence, your bad habits, everything. So here's my advice. If you have been working on the same thing for 3 lessons, maybe 5 hours, and it's still not clicking, stop forcing it. I mean, that's one of the things. I was trying to beat it through my own brain. Do what I did. Switch instructors. Like, you don't have to. You're not married to the guy or girl, and you can go back to them after you learn this key thing, and they can continue the rest of the way with you. I mean, that doesn't always mean leave the school. Sometimes it just means fly with somebody else for a lesson or two and hear it explained a different way. I mean, that's how our brains work. We need it. Sometimes you just need somebody else to tell you. I know my parents, my mom told me something, and my dad told me something. It would come off two different ways, and you learn differently. And also, one instructor might say something that completely changes the way it lands in your brain. Sometimes you do not need more reps. You need like a different explanation. And now for what everybody always asks me whenever they reach out. What does flight training cost, or I guess more specifically, what it cost me? Okay, so there's a less expensive way to do this. And then there's the way I did it. The less expensive way is pretty simple. Go find like a Cessna 150, 172, learn the basics, learn takeoffs, landings, steep turns around a point, all the fundamentals. Then transition later. That is the cheaper path. My view, though, is that if you want to know what airplane you eventually want to fly, there's a real argument for learning in that ecosystem early. So if you want to fly a Cirrus, like I knew I wanted to fly a Cirrus, I was not going to buy a 172. Learn to fly in a Cirrus. That becomes like your baseline for what you know and what you know how to fly. The reason why this is important mainly is because in an emergency, you fall back to your training. And if the airplane, the systems, and the flows are sort of second nature to you, and you feel as though the plane becomes like an extension of yourself, that matters, especially in an emergency. So I understand both sides. Some people say learn in steam gauges so you understand the fundamentals. It makes you a better pilot, blah, 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 blah. For me, it's very simple. If there's an emergency, I'm not going to be like, hey, I remember the steam gauges, it was this. What I'm going to fall back to is my training that I got in the Cirrus, the training that I got in emergency systems, the training that I got in that plane, and that's all I know. So I'm going to fall back to that training. So back to the cost. Okay, that is the cheaper path. I took the more expensive path. All in all, if you want to talk dollars, which is, I guess, is not tasteful in society nowadays, but if you do your training in a Cessna 172, it's going to cost you around like what, 5 to 10K. And if you do it in a Cirrus, it's going to cost you between, let's say, 15 to 30,000, depending where you are in the systems. Now, here's my thing, okay? Especially when it comes down to money. If you want to learn, and if you agree with me, you want to buy a Cirrus, you want to train in a Cirrus, you're going to buy a Cirrus in the future, the cheapest way to do that and to keep my same systems is do the absolute basics in a 172 or 150, that's takeoff. Learn how to do turns around a point, not too proficiency, just what it is. Learn what stalls are in a 172. Learn that, understand the process, what it is. Learn how to do steep turns, and learn how to land. Okay, now when I say learn, don't do it to proficiency, just do it so you can do it once or twice and you understand the concepts of what you're looking for. Then hop into Cirrus SR22, okay, or Cirrus SR20, just a Cirrus in general. Take those concepts that you learn, the fundamentals, and just apply it to the Cirrus as they teach you the new training systems. It will be recent enough in your brain that you'll forget the 172, how to fly it, so you don't have to worry about this emergency. You fall back to that. You're just going to fall back to what you learned in the Cirrus, but you'll still be able to apply the basic principles, and you're not paying. I mean, okay, let's be candid here. Renting a Cirrus to learn how to fly is not freaking cheap. You're paying like $650 plus an instructor, so it's a $750 to fly a Cirrus to learn how to do steep turns and stalls. You can do that in a 172 or 150, a Piper, whatever. Learn fundamentals, then just apply it to this, so you're not paying somebody to fly in a circle. All right, so next, why I chose the SR22T. So I chose the Cirrus SR22T G3. I think the SR22T G3 is one of the sleepers in the Cirrus world. I think the G3 and the G5 are now sleepers. A lot of people chase the newest thing. I'm looking for value. Okay, my goal is to step into a Vision Jet. That has always been my goal that I have. Now that may change. I've seen some videos with people having different reviews and saying no, don't do it. But for right now, my goal is to get into a Vision Jet. The best way to do that is to learn the Cirrus systems and have it translate over after I get 600, 700 hours. I can then buy a new Cirrus Vision Jet and step from there. That being said, the G3, G5 are still sleepers. I mean, to me, the G3 gives you a lot of value for your money, especially if you're not married and you don't have any kids. So typically it's you and a friend, or you and a significant other, or whatever. I think a lot of people underestimate how much capability you can get in older Cirrus, especially if you're smart with the upgrades over time. I will say this: if you do not have a family yet and you're trying to get into the Cirrus world without jumping all the way to the newest plane, the G3 is very hard to ignore. I mean, let's talk about money again, okay? If you're doing a G3, you can get one for $500,000 with less than 1,000 hours on it, okay? If you're doing a G5, if you're going for less than 1,000 hours, you're probably closer to the 600K range. And if you're doing a G6, I mean, you're not going to get one with less than 1,000 hours for in the 600 range. You're probably in the 700, 800, and I see some still in the 9s. Okay, so you're realistically with a G3, you might be saving, $300,000 compared to a G6. But with the new Garmin Perspective avionics upgrade that I'll talk about in the future, you could actually upgrade your G3 to like a G6 Plus, which will have everything that a G6 has, plus some additional features. And you can do that all for closer to between 40 to 80K, depending on your upgrades, and then some minor door stuff. I mean, 100K all in, you're gonna love that plane. It'll be better than a new G6 out there. So, bring us full circle. You can spend $800,000 on a G6. You can spend 1.3, 1.4, maybe 1.2 if you get lucky on a G7. But you can realistically pay $500,000 for a G3, put $100,000 in it, and now get a G6 Plus, which is a 200K savings. That's the way I look at it. Now, there is a couple things, though. If you need more baggage, more passengers, you travel with family, okay, start looking at a G5 or G7, okay? You're going to get more useful load out of it. For me, no wife, no kids, I'm in G3 territory, at least for now, okay? Now, let's talk about renting versus buying. Okay, so renting is simple. Okay, you show up, you fly, you leave. You don't have to worry about maintenance, oil changes, anything, okay? When you buy, you have a payment. If you take out a loan for it, you have insurance, hangars, annuals, random maintenance, little surprises that become expensive surprises. So buying is not automatically cheaper. But here is where buying starts to make sense. Control, availability, consistency, an ability to train and to carry a plane you care about, and the ability, if you use it for work, like I go to meetings, I meet with clients, I even take some clients up, show them what flying is all about. If I can convert them into pilots, that matters a lot to me. And so that is where ownership makes sense. And if you're flying enough per month and you value having a plane, math starts to shift. But here's the thing, all right? Run your own numbers. These are mine, okay? You can rent an SR22T for about $685. So let's say $700 an hour. Okay. So, but if you took out a loan with today's interest rate in 2026, you're looking at about, for a $500,000 plane with a down payment, you're looking at around, like, let's say $4,000 a month. Okay. So $4,000 a month. Insurance for a pilot without an instrument rating, just a PPL with a, let's say, 50 hours in a Cirrus. When I did it, I had about 100 hours in a Cirrus. Insurance, you are looking at around $7,000 a year for insurance. I want to make this clear. Insurance is only $7,000 for a new pilot. It's not $100,000. It's not 50. It's not 30. For a new pilot with about 50 hours in a Cirrus, you're looking at about $7,000. Okay. So all those blogs, everything else you see that say that you can't get insurance if you're a new Cirrus pilot, don't believe them. In fact, I got insurance as a student pilot in a Cirrus. It cost me $25,000 a year, but I still got insurance as a student pilot in a over $1 million plane. So don't worry about that nonsense, okay? Okay, so back to what I was talking about. You got $4,000 for the note for the plane. You got $7,000 a year, which is about, let's say $700 a month for the insurance. Hangar space, who knows where you're at, what the hangar space is, call around. But let's say altogether you're looking at about, let's say $6,000 altogether, okay? With daily maintenance, stuff that can happen, yada yada yada. You're looking at $7,000 a month. Okay, $7,000 a month, and the Cirrus that you're renting for $700 is wet, right? So let's say $600 an hour. So realistically, if you fly 10 to 12 hours a month, that should take care of the annual surprises and hangar and everything else. 12 hours, 144 hours a year. Okay. But for me, my rule of thumb was 120 hours I'm buying. Okay. That 20-hour difference, I'll make that up. I'll start flying that when I get my license. So 120 hours or less if you fly a year. I think buying a $500,000 plane makes sense, especially if you can use it for meetings, for, do what you got to do. Another question I get asked, what is the biggest lesson or biggest advice I would give new pilots? My biggest advice, if you're a new pilot and you are thinking about, or if you're thinking about becoming one, number one, stop dragging training out. Get it done, okay? You can slowly do the basics, get the written done, get everything else. You need to get the fundamentals and then just walk in and get it done, okay? There's no point of dragging it out. You're going to learn faster if you do it that way too. Number two, don't keep bouncing around planes unless you absolutely have to. I've flown an RV-12, RV-10, a Cirrus, a Cessna, a Piper. Don't do that. Just stick with one make model plane all the way through. Advice number three, if the maneuvers aren't clicking, go ahead, go to a different flight school or instructor and have them give you a different explanation. Number four, do your written earlier. Definitely. Let's see. Number five, I would say if you know what kind of flying you want to do long term or what you want to fly. Oh, this land is beautiful, by the way. If you want to know what type of plane you want to fly, just do that because you're going to be flying that long term. So start training on what you fly in. That's the best advice that was ever given to me. Let's see. Some other questions people ask you. What's the biggest myth people have about Cirrus pilots or Cirrus? Cirrus pilots don't know how to fly and it's too complicated. If all you know how to do is open heart surgery, from the moment you start studying, you're going to be able to do open heart surgery. Like people saying it's too difficult to learn, no, just start training in one and then it becomes all that you know. Let's see. How often do I think a pilot needs to fly to stay sharp? I definitely would say you want to fly at least 5 to 10 hours a month, just to stay proficient. The most expensive lesson I've gotten as an owner is sometimes you want to go to these manufacturer facilities that are platinum certified or whatever for getting your repairs done on your plane. Honestly, referrals are everything. If you know somebody with a Cirrus, then ask them how they feel about their mechanic and what they've gotten done, and etc. If you don't know anybody who owns a Cirrus, hang on at airport, see what's one's flying, and as soon as one lands, run over and talk to the owner, talk to him about where he gets maintenance done. Believe me, people who own planes love to talk about planes, so there is absolutely no problem with that. Make sure you trust the place that's doing your pre-buy. And lastly, if you're thinking about a Cirrus SR22 G3, here's the truth, okay? It's a lot of plane. It's very capable. You can go cross country with it. You can go to Europe with it. You can go to Iceland. You can go wherever you need with the SR22T. Become proficient in it. Make sure you are willing to commit to learning everything about that plane and becoming the best pilot possible. Once you do that, there will be nothing stopping you from being able to either step up to the next plane or really enjoy your plane. And lastly, if any of you guys want to reach out to me for advice on maintenance I've done, or more, if you have any more questions about pricing, etc., just feel free to reach out to me via DM on Instagram. It's Marcus Henry PE. Or same thing with TikTok. You can send me a message or even write me a comment on YouTube. As I said earlier, people who own planes love talking about planes. So believe me, you won't be bothering me if you have any questions. If you are in the New England area and you want some referrals to flight schools or instructors or to maintenance facilities, please feel free to give me a shout. I can give you what I believe is the best advice possible. And I hope you guys really enjoy the content. Again, I'm not a CFI. I'm not sure if I said that before. I'm not a CFI. I just stayed at a Holiday Inn once, and I own a plane. So I'm just trying to give people the advice that I never got when I was jumping into this. Yeah, and one more last thing I want to talk about is personal minimums. My personal minimums have evolved over time. When you first get your PPL, you're going to have a very low personal minimums that you feel comfortable with. Feel free to fly with an instructor or even fly with somebody else who's a CFI who also owns a Cirrus, and they can give you some tips of landing with a higher crosswind or higher headwind or gusty conditions, and sort of you can pick their brain, and eventually you're going to start like slowly moving up. So let's say there's a 6-knot crosswind, there's a 7-knot crosswind, you might go, hey, I think I'm going to try this out. I wouldn't jump from like a 6-knot personal minimum to like a 12 with crosswind, but slowly easy way up, get some more comfort, and before you know it, you'll be landing with a 15-knot crosswind, gusty conditions, no problem. All right, guys, again, I'm Marcus Henry. Thank you for enjoying this flight from Bedford to Mansfield Airport. I'm going to go off, enjoy the rest of my evening, and you guys do well. Stay blessed.